We're on to the first process of risk management. It's called plan risk management. Now, we've talked about what risk is all about. Risk is about managing uncertainties that can impact the project. These could be positive uncertainties or negative uncertainties. So our job here as project managers is to ensure that both positive and negative uncertainties that can impact the project are identified and adequately managed. The first process here is plan risk management. It's creating a plan for how to identify, analyze, monitor, and control risks. So our major goal is to develop this plan called the risk management plan for managing risks. Let's take a look at our inputs here. You've probably seen the recurring theme of the project charter and the project management plan as inputs to several planning processes. Well, we have the project charter here again, and the project charter contains high-level project descriptions and boundaries, as well as high-level project risks. So it is a relevant input here. The next input is the project management plan. Risk cuts across all knowledge areas, and for that reason, any available plans, subsidiary plans, should be considered. Of course, these subsidiary plans reside in the project management plan as a whole, so this is a valid input. The next input is project documents. Project documents contain the stakeholder register. As we plan risk management, we want to involve our stakeholders. We want to have an overview of their project roles and their attitude towards risks on the project. The stakeholder register could be helpful in enabling us do that. The next input is enterprise environmental factors. One of the enterprise environmental factors that could influence this process is overall risk thresholds that the organization has set or thresholds of stakeholders on the project. It's all about those risk attitudes. Those risk attitudes and those risk thresholds that stakeholders have will either propel or pull back our efforts in managing risk on the project. The next input is organizational process assets. Those that are of concern here are things like the company's risk management policy, risk categories that exist within the firm, risk breakdown structure templates, definitions of risk in the firm, templates for managing risk, risk register templates, risk report templates, roles and responsibilities within the firm for risks, authority levels, and also lessons learned from previous projects that could help us as we are planning how to manage risks. The tools and techniques here are expert judgment. Of course, we need expertise. We need to be familiar with the company's approach for managing risks. We also need to be aware of how to tailor our efforts, our risk management efforts on the project, and also expertise on the types of risks that are likely to be faced on a project of the nature we're working on. The next tool and technique is data analysis. The data analysis that we focus on here could include stakeholder analysis as we seek to determine the risk appetite of our project stakeholders. In other words, how much risk are they willing to take on to achieve the project's objectives? The final tool and technique here is meetings. We need meetings to facilitate the meeting of the minds regarding expert judgment and the data analysis that we'll be conducting in this process. The outputs of plan risk management. Big output is the risk management plan. Now, this is a loaded plan, folks. For your exam, you absolutely need to make sure you know what is in the risk management plan. There are a lot of sub-items in this plan. The overall strategy for carrying out risks and the risk methodology is defined in this plan. We also see roles and responsibilities revolving around risk management defined here. Funding for risk management activities also needs to be considered. We need to know where the money is coming from. Where is the funding coming from for all of these risk management activities that have been outlined on the project? The timing of risk activities. How frequently are these risk activities going to be conducted? And which risk management approaches are going to be considered? We also have here a breakdown of risk categories. Categories in the risk breakdown structure could also be in your risk management plan. In other words, it could contain a template of how risks will be broken down on the project. The PMI have included a helpful breakdown of risks by category in figure 11-4 in the PMBOK guide. I would highly advise you to take a look at that and see the breakdown of risks, technical risks, management-related risks, commercial risks, and external risks. And this is just a base template. RBSs could be in a wide variety of shapes and forms and sizes. And this is a more tabular view of a risk breakdown structure. Also, within the risk management plan, we could have stakeholder risk appetite talked about here. And we could also have definitions of probability and impact. Scales of probability and impact also need to be defined. What do we mean by a high risk? What do we mean by a low risk? When we say a risk is very high or very low, what do we mean? These breakdowns and descriptions could be in a tabular view, and take a look at table 11-1 in the PMBOK guide to see this breakdown. Also, the probability and impact matrix that we'll be using on the project does need to be defined up front before we identify the risks. This could also be in the risk management plan. The definitions of the scales we'll be using, is it a scale from 1 to 5 or is it a scale from 1 to 10? Whatever the scale is for probability and impact rating, when we do our qualitative risk analysis, it has to be defined. One more thing here, we have the reporting formats for risks. So what will our risk report look like? How will we track risks? How are risk activities going to be recorded and reported? All of that stuff does need to